celebrate the poetry of W.B. Yeats with Mike Scott and the Waterboys.
I wish I was a fisherman, tumbling on the seas, far away from dry land and its bitter memories, casting out my sweet life with abandonment and love. No ceiling bearing down on me.
Woodsongs is made possible in part by Alltech, makers of Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale. More information is online at kentuckyale.com. And by Tourism Ireland. More information available at ireland.com. By Time Warner Cable, providers of telephone, television, and high-speed internet nationwide. And by Kentucky Tourism. Information is online at kentuckytourism.com.
Here on the Louisiana Hayride, his name is Hank Williams, the drifting cowboy.
On the Grand Ole Opry, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys.
Hi, this is Bruce Horns.
Hi, this is Kevin Moe.
Hey folks, this is Bela Fleck.
Hi folks, this is Sam Bush.
Hello, this is Odetta.
This is Joan Baez, and you're listening to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And now, gather the family around and sit back in your easy chair. It's time again for the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour, our worldwide celebration of grassroots music. Let's welcome folk singer, author, and tree hugger, Michael Jonathan.
All alone with you on a winter's evening, it's me and you, just you and me on a winter's eve. Falling winter snow, a fireplace glowing in your eyes. Tonight, silent firelight, this winter's eve. I believe in winter songs, I believe in snow falling down, January wine and firelight. But the beauty of this winter's night can't compare to the precious sight of you alone with me this winter's eve. I believe in winter songs, I believe in snow falling down, January wine and firelight. But the beauty of this winter's night can't compare to the precious sight of you alone with me this winter's eve. Falling winter snow, a fireplace glowing in your eyes.
And welcome to our broadcast here in our beautiful home at the historic Lyric Theater from our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. We are broadcasting all over the world on this wonderful historic stage where we're celebrating independent and grassroots music. Tonight's broadcast, we are dedicating it to two artists. One is on our stage. The other is the artist that these artists are giving tribute to in a magnificent, magnificent way with a brand new album of theirs. And we're very happy that we can help introduce this work to you. But first, I want to talk about the artist that they are giving tribute to. His name is W.B. Yeats. William Butler Yeats was a wonderful Irish poet. And before we talk about him and his life story, I want you to hear a little bit about his words, his passion. From his book, Celtic Twilight, the intro says so much about who he is and what he's about. And we're going to introduce Steve Wickham to go ahead and play violin. And we're going to introduce Professor Jonathan Allison from the University of Kentucky English Department to read this beautiful introduction of W.B. Yeats from his book, Celtic Twilight.
I have desired, like every artist, to create a little world out of the beautiful, pleasant, and significant things of this marred and clumsy world, and to show in a vision something of the face of Ireland to any of my own people who would look where I bid them. The things a man has heard and seen are threads of life, and if he pull them carefully from the confused distaff of memory, any who will can weave them into whatever garments of belief please them best. Hope and memory have one daughter, and her name is Art, and she has built her dwelling far from the desperate field where men hang out their garments upon forked boughs to be banners of battle. O beloved daughter of hope and memory, be with me for a little.
Professor Jonathan Allison, reading from William Butler Yeats' intro to Celtic Twilight. So who could give tribute to the poet laureate of a whole nation that moved an entire world with his words and with his music? Well, a young 12-year-old boy sitting in his mother's house, she would read him the poetry of this wonderful, wonderful poet. And all of this imagery became just passionate and real. And when this young boy grew up, he became a rock and roller. And he put out records, and he had a worldwide hit with so much of the imagery of his home along the ocean in Europe. This is one of their big hit songs. It's called Fisherman's Blues.
I wish I was a fisherman, tumbling on the seas, far away from dry land and its bitter memories.
And his music continued. A lot of his own lyrics had the same power and passion of the poets of the past that he studied. And this is one of them. Listen to the words of Hole of the Moon.
Too far, too soon, you saw the hole of the moon.
Big, huge records that went around the world. Well, he's giving a brand new album life with the words of this wonderful poet, W.B. Yeats. And we're dedicating the entire show to the songs of this wonderful Irish poet that he's giving tribute to in this album. It's called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. He's going to introduce himself or themselves with a song off this album called Mad as the Mist and Snow. Please welcome Steve Wickham and Mike Scott, the Waterboys, on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
Bolt and bar the shutters, for the foul winds blow. Our minds are at their best this night, and I seem to know that everything about us is mad as the mist and snow. that everything outside us is mad as the mist and snow. Horace by Homer stands, Plato stands below. And here is Charlie's opened page, how many years ago? Were you and I, lads, mad as the mist and snow? Were you and I, lads, mad as the mist and snow? Hey, hey, hey! What makes me sigh? What makes me shudder so? I shudder and I sigh to think that even Cicero and many-minded Homer were mad as the mist and snow. That Cicero and Homer were mad as the mist and snow. That Cicero and Homer were mad as the mist and snow. That Cicero and Homer were mad as the mist and snow. Mad as the mist and snow.
This is the album. It's called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. Let's say hello to founding member of the Waterboys, Mike Scott. Thank you, guy, for coming out.
You're welcome, dude.
So when you were a young man, your mom in your home would read aloud the words of William Butler Yeats.
You know, it makes a nice image, but she never actually did that, Michael. She was cunning, my mom. She was cunning like a fox, you know. She left me to discover Yeats's words in my own time, which meant that I really got it.
Now, did she talk to you about who he was and what he meant?
Yeah, she took me to the Yeats Summer School, which is this annual event in the west of Ireland where scholars and aficionados gather to worship at the altar of the great poet. Mm-hmm. And she took me, I was 11 years old, and apparently she took me to some of the lectures and talks. I don't remember anything about those. But nevertheless, the sense of the great poet Yeats was imprinted on me.
So the emotion of the time there had a lasting effect on you, not the actual instruction.
Just as you can't go for a week's holiday with your mum to a conference like that and not get the point.
Well, what was it about Yeats that was making him important to so many, like your mom? That she would pass this on to you. What was it about him that eventually, as you grew older, just grabbed you from the heart, not even the heart, from the soul and the spirit, to put out a project like this, which is very hard?
Yeah, well, he was a poet with the great gravitas and power, and he was a great sculptor of language. His lyrics seemed to be very skillfully and deliberately sculpted, yet they always flow easily off the tongue. And I think that's a sign of a master.
Well, his lyrics had meter to them. I mean,
most of them, yeah.
Now, you in this album, An Appointment with Mr. Yeats, you followed most of his lyrics as closely as you possibly can, so that it becomes very true to the original poem. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Do you know,
Simply put.
do you know, Michael, I've studied lots of people who've set Yeats to music before me, and some of them would take what I thought were outrageous liberties. Some very famous artists who I won't name would even insert their own verses in among Yeats's, which I thought was highly presumptuous. When I was working with Yeats's poems, I might change a word here and there because it had gone out of popular usage, or I might just smooth a turn or the end of a line to make it rhyme, but I would never ever change the poet's meaning or intention.
Your original poetry, and I read a lot of your work, and let's say that you, before you did this album, you worked on the poetry of other poets, including Yeats, to create music that you included on the Waterboys albums in the past.
Yeah, once or twice, yeah.
Yeah, so I think even on Fisherman's Blues, didn't you have a Yeats poem on
The
it?
Stolen Child.
Yes, which was a brilliant song, by the way. Your own words, and I love Hole of the Moon. And here you say, I pictured a rainbow, you held it in your hands. I had flashes, but you saw the plan. I wandered out in the world for years while you just stayed in your own room. I saw the crescent, you saw the whole of the moon. Beautiful poetry.
Thank you,
that you yourself are writing.
Thanks.
So now we're going to get back. We want to talk more about why you were inspired to do this album and the events that led up to the creation of it. But let's get back into the music. It's a wonderful CD. It's called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. Nobel Prize winning poet William Butler Yeats wrote the words. This is a song off the album called The Lake Isle of Innisfree. It's the Waterboys on the Woodsongs. Old Time Radio.
I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree. 9 bean rows will I have there, and a hive for the honeybee, and a small cabin of clay and wattles made. And I will live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I will have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, where midnight's all a glimmer and noon's a purple glow, dropping from the veils of morning to where the cricket sings. And the evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day, when I stand on the roadside on a pavement gray, I hear lake water lapping, low sounds of the shore. I feel it in the deep heart's core. A purple glow. I will arise and go. 2, 3, 4. Protest ball.
Thank you.
Steve Wickham on fiddle. Paul Brown on the Hammond B3. Mike Scott, founding member of the Waterboys, from this brand new CD called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats, released across North America on Proper American Records. If you want to know more about this beautiful album, this is not just a beautiful album, it's an important album because it resurrects in the minds of a whole new generation the beauty and power of the poetry of William Butler Yeats. If you'd like to make it part of your home music collection, you just visit our website, woodsongs.com. Click on the archive, and this is show number 706. We'll let you know everything there is to know about this beautiful album. So, Mike, let's go over what happened that created the inspiration to do this album.
Well, a long time ago, Michael, I set The Stolen Child to music, and once I'd done that, I kind of got the taste for turning Yeats's poems into songs. And over the years, I would keep returning to my book of his poems, and I would set another one here. Maybe a few years later, I would do another one. 5 years later, I'd do another couple. And eventually, around about 2007, I had almost enough for a whole show. And I got to tell you that I always envisaged this as a show called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. And in fact, that was how it began. It was premiered at the Abbey Theatre in Dublin, which Yeats founded, in March 2010, and didn't become an album till over a year later.
And weren't you you were invited to a Yeats tribute event in Ireland? And you thought everybody was going to be doing a Yeats-inspired song.
Yeah, this is about 20 years ago. It was a Yeats festival, and they had a night of musical tribute to Yeats. And I have to confess, I misunderstood the brief. I thought we were all to go and set some of his poems to music and then perform them. And when I got to the gig, and I did my little stint, I did 4 of his poems turned into songs, and none of the other artists did. They just did their own numbers. And I thought, there's something not right here. Yeats deserves a whole show.
And he gave it to him, so...
Damn right.
You're gonna... Gave him a show and an album. W.B. Yeats was an Irish poet and a playwright. He's one of the foremost figures of the 20th century literature world. He also won the Nobel Prize in Literature back in 1923. This is off the album An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. The song and poem is called White Birds. It's the Waterboys on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
Would that we were, my beloved, white birds on the foam of the sea, far from the rose and the lily and the fret of the flames would we be. For the flame of the blue star of twilight hung low on the rim of the sky, has awaked in our hearts, my beloved, a sadness that may never die, a sadness that may never die. A weariness comes from those dreamers. Dew dabbled the lily and the rose. Oh, dreameth not, my beloved, the flame of the meteor that glows, or the flame of the blue star that lingers, hung low in the fall of the dew. For I would we were changed, my beloved, to white birds on the foam, I and you. To white birds on the foam, I and you. Bend low that I may crown you flower of the branch, silver fish my hands have taken from the running stream. Morning star trembling in the heavens like a white fawn on the borders of a wood. Bend that I may crown you, that I may crown you. For the flame of the blue star of twilight hung low on the rim of the sky has awaked in our hearts, my beloved, a sadness that may never die. And far from the rose and the lily and the fret of the flames would we be, were we only white birds, my beloved, white birds on the foam of the sea, white birds on the foam of the sea. Foam of the sea, white birds on the foam of the sea, white birds.
Thank you. Song is White Birds. The CD is called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. The voice of Mike Scott, Steve Wickham on fiddle, and Seagulls and Paul Brown on the Hammond B3. We've got more treats from William Butler Yeats and his poetry, more songs from the Waterboys, an entire hour celebrating this beautiful album. We will be back right after this.
Hi, this is Billy Bragg, and you're listening to folk singer Michael Jonathan and the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And thank you, Billy Bragg. There's a good artist. Made use of another artist's lyrics with his Woody Guthrie project. Welcome, everybody, to our broadcast coming from the historic Lyric Theatre in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. We're broadcasting from Australia to Ireland, New Zealand to New York, Yuma, Arizona to the Yukon in northern Canada. Great radio stations like Inishuwen Community Radio in Ireland, Dublin City FM in Dublin, Phoenix FM, also in Dublin, JRRI Radio in Waterford, Ireland. Let's say hello to all the Irish listeners listening to the Waterboys on our broadcast. Over 500 radio stations around the world. We are celebrating the words and the works of William Butler Yeats in the beautiful album put out by the Waterboys called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. All the poetry on the album are his words. The music was set to beautiful, beautiful melodies by Mike Scott. The Waterboys are here for the entire album, introducing songs from this beautiful album. And as I was reading the Yeats poetry, I was like, we need to give voice to who William Butler Yeats was. And so in the first half hour, we had Professor Allison from the English Department of University of Kentucky, who is from Ireland. And I'm like, I want one more voice to interpret Yeats' music. And in Lexington, Kentucky, I mean, how many Irish people are you going to find that are out here. So we found one who is a dear friend of ours. He is the founder and president of Alltech. He started the company with 10 grand that he was able to manage and put together. And in about 20 years, he now employs 3,000 people in over 100 countries, sales of nearly $4 billion that he's doing so well with. We're very proud of him. The reason he's here is because he's also the first Irishman to receive a formal degree in brewing and distilling. So, yeah. So, Yeats wrote this wonderful poem that I just thought was magnificent, and who else that could we get to recite this beautiful poem by William Butler Yeats than Dr. Pierce Lyons.
Thank you. The poem is called A Drunken Man's Praise of Sobriety. And as a brewer, it's probably very appropriate for me to recite it. Come swish around, my pretty punk, and keep me dancing still, that I may stay a sober man, although I drink at will. Sobriety is a jewel that I so much adore, and therefore keep me dancing, though drunkards lie and snore. Oh, mind your feet, keep dancing like a wave, and under every dancer, a dead man in his grave. No ups and downs, my pretty, a mermaid, not a punk. A drunkard is a dead man, and all dead men are drunk. Thank you.
Master Brewer, Dr. Pierce Lyons. Thank you, Dr. Lyons. Obviously, William Butler Yeats had a wonderful sense of humor and a majesty with his poems. We're going to get back into this beautiful album called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. The song is called Sweet Dancer. It's Steve Wickham and Mike Scott, the Waterboys, on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
The girl goes dancing there on the leaf-sown and new-mown smooth grass of the garden. Escaped from her bitter youth, escaped from out of her crowd and her black cloud. Oh, dancer, oh, sweet dancer, oh, dancer, oh, sweet dancer. If men come from the house to lead her away, please do not say she's crazy. Lead them gently astray. Let her finish the dance, finish the dance. Oh, dancer, oh, sweet dancer, oh, dancer, oh, sweet dancer. She sings as the moon sings, I am I, the greater grows my light, the further shall I fly. I hear the wind blow, I hear the grass grow, and all that I know, I know. Oh, dancer, oh, sweet dancer, oh, dancer, oh, sweet dancer. The girl goes dancing there on the leaf-sown, new-mown, smooth grass of the garden. Let her finish the dance. Let her finish the dance. Finish the dance. Oh, dancer. Oh, sweet dancer. Oh, dancer. Oh, sweet dancer. Oh, dancer. Oh, sweet dancer. Oh, dancer. Oh, sweet dancer.
Thank you.
Sweet answer. It's the Waterboys from Ireland from their CD An Appointment with Mr. Yeats, released all over the world on proper American records. If you'd like this beautiful album part of your home music collection, you can visit our website at woodsongs.com. Click on the archive page. This is show number 706. We want to give props to Steve Wickham. So glad that you're here.
Thank you.
You're almost a show unto yourself. Steve is the fiddle, the violin in U2's Sunday Bloody Sunday, the big hit record that. And you've performed with Elvis Costello and Sinead O'Connor and so many. You've been performing, but you were classically trained, yes?
Yeah, I went to the Royal College of Music in Dublin when I was 7.
So how does a classically trained, magnificent artist like you become a fiddle player?
Well, I don't know anything else. I got my first fiddle when I was 3 years of age from my grandmother, and I literally can't remember what it was like to be a human being without a fiddle.
And you told me your dad would play the fiddle around the house.
My
yes?
dad's a fiddler, or was a fiddler, and he played a few tunes. He taught me Eileen Aroon. I don't know if you know that tune over here.
Yeah.
And a couple of tunes like that.
Well, a lot of the Appalachian bluegrass comes from the Irish fiddle music.
Absolutely.
So that tradition, Scotland and Ireland, right?
Irish fiddle players come over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're here, and we're so glad that you are. Thank you.
I'm delighted. Thank you.
So, Michael, you're about to play one of the most beautiful songs on this album of a very, very passionate, brilliant poem that Yeats wrote. So tell me what it was about this song and the writing process of it. How did you put the music to Song of the Wandering Aengus, which is one of the more popular of the Yeats poems?
I did the same thing that I did with all the rest of the poems, Michael. I sat at the piano with the poetry book open, and I would read the first couple of lines of each poem in my mind, and if it suggested a melody, I would turn it into a song. If it didn't, I'd move on to the next poem. And Song of Wandering Aengus was one such. It rhymes and it scans beautifully. In fact, on the page, it looks like a song lyric.
Yeah.
It's just crying out for a tune. In fact, I'm only one of maybe 30 or 40 people who've set this to music over the years.
And when you're done with it and you play the song back to yourself for the first time, I mean, what made you decide that this belongs in the canon of An Appointment with Mr. Yeats, this album? I mean, when you record it, this is one of the more gentler touches on the album. The rest of your album is very rock and roll. There's a lot of rock on the. It's not a folk album. But this song here, you treated very, very gently. So was the lyrics that inspired that touch to you?
The lyrics suggested the melody and the feel, yeah. It's a romantic, mythical song about a guy who has a vision and follows it for the rest of his life. And the color and the tone of the words suggested this treatment.
Well, let's listen to the song. It's from his CD, An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. The song is very, very much true to the poem that William Butler Yeats wrote. So listen closely to the lyrics, but the music itself is just absolutely beautiful. It's the Waterboys on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
went out to the hazelwood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the ground, I went to blow the fire aflame, but something made a rustling sound, and someone called me by my name. It had become a glimmering girl with apple blossom in her hair, who called me by my name and ran and faded in the brightening air. Though I am old with wandering through hollow lands and hilly lands, I will find out where she has gone and kiss her lips and touch her hands and walk among long dappled paths and pluck till time and times are done the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun, the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun. The silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun, the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun, the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun. the silver apples of the moon.
Thank you.
It's the Waterboys, Mike Scott. Celebrating the words of the poet William Butler Yeats from their CD on Proper American Records called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats. Absolutely beautiful album. Mike, what makes the album important is the way you give tribute to this wonderful writer in such a masterpiece sort of way. The album is absolutely beautiful.
Thanks, dude.
Of course, your own music has gone around the world, and the Waterboys, of course, a famous and beloved band, and Steve is here with you, and you're going to treat our audience to one of the bigger of the hits that the Waterboys had. And this is a song that you and Steve sort of wrote together in the studio.
We did, yeah. I had the lyric on a scrap of paper, an envelope, I think, I remember, and produced it one day in the recording studio and started strumming. Steve played a bit of fiddle, which created the mood and provided the song with its soul, I think. And away we went, and we'll play it for you just like we did then.
Well, this is a big treat for the Woodsongs audience. From the title cut of this wonderful album, this is the big song. It's called Fisherman's Blues on the Woodsongs. Old Time Radio.
Wish I was a fisherman, tumbling on the seas, far away from dry land and its bitter memories, casting out my sweet light with abandonment and love. No ceiling bearing down on me, save the starry sky above with light in my head. You in my arms. Woo! I wish I was the brakeman on a hurtling fevered train, crashing headlong into the heartland like a cannon in the rain, with the beating of the sleepers and the burning of the coal, counting the towns flashing by in a night that's full of soul and light in my head. You in my arms. Woo! Play your fiddle, Steve. Well, I know I will be loosened from the bonds that hold me fast, and the chains all hung around me will fall away at last. And on that fine, fateful day, I will take me in my hands. I will ride on the train. I will be the fisherman with light in my head. You in my arms. Woo! Light in my head. You in my arms. Thank you.
Wasn't it great having the Waterboys on Woodsongs? Mike Scott, Steve Wickham on fiddle, Paul Brown on the Hammond B3 sitting in from Nashville. You guys as an audience was wonderful. We're celebrating William Butler Yeats from the brand new CD, the beautiful CD called An Appointment with Mr. Yeats that the Waterboys have put out. And it's a lovely album, an important album about a very important poet and a magnificent figure in the world of literature, a Nobel Peace Prize-winning Irish writer, William Butler Yeats, who had a very, very difficult life. Not everything was rosy. You know, if you read Mike Scott's autobiography, beautiful book about his life as a water boy, you know, he didn't have it easy either. Most artists don't have it easy. William Butler Yeats did not have it easy. He fell in love with a beautiful young maiden as a young man. He proposed to her once and got turned down. He proposed twice. He got turned down. He proposed 3 times and she turned him down again. And to his horror, she married this dude named John McBride, who was later executed by the Irish government. When he was 51 years old or so, he thought, well, maybe she'd marry me again. Here he is still single and unmarried. He proposed to her a 4th and a 5th time. She turned him down. And later on, he finally passed away after doing all this wonderful work and pouring his heartbreak out in all this poetry that he wrote. And he died in France. And who was assigned to move his body out of France? The son of the dude that married the woman he was in love with. Life is ironic, and it gets spent with or without your participation. Life is like money. It gets spent with or without you being there. There's only so much young in the bank. Look what William Butler Yeats did with his life while he was here. Look at the wonderful work that Mike Scott is doing. Look at the opportunity that everybody has, no matter what troubles you've got. Music and art lives on past the problems you're having. It's a wonderful cathartic thing, and I hope you take advantage of the great example that Mike Scott and the Waterboys have done with the words of William Butler Yeats. My name is Michael Jonathan. I'm a folk singer. I am a log cabin dweller, and we'll see you next week on the Woodsongs. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. There are so many talented artists that appear on our stage. It's very hard sometimes to pick the ones that appear on our TV broadcast. So what we're going to do is leave you with a performance from our huge online archive of past shows. We'll see you next time on the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour. Try this at home. The tune is called Tank Park Salute. Please welcome Billy Bragg to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio.
Kiss me good night and say my prayers. Leave the lights on at the top of the stairs. Tell me the names of the stars up in the sky. A tree taps on a window pane. That feeling smothers me again. Daddy, is it true that we all have to die? At the top of the stairs is darkness. At the top of the stairs is darkness. I closed my eyes and when I looked, your name was in the memorial book. What had become of all the things we planned? I accepted the commiserations of all your friends and your relations, but there's some things I still don't understand. You were so tall.
Closed captioning provided by visitlex.com. Woodsongs.com. Woodsongs is made possible in part by Alltech, makers of Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale. More information is online at KentuckyAle.com. And by Tourism Ireland. More information available at Ireland.com. By Time Warner Cable, providers of telephone, television, and high-speed internet nationwide. And by Kentucky Tourism. Information is online at KentuckyTourism.com.